Hey y'all, I'm Mike, the RV inspector and technician,
And I'm Elizabeth. I run our business.
and welcome to the Cozy Camper Podcast. But Joshua, man, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you talking to us, or talking to me. There's no us today, but
Royal
I
us.
first saw you, the royal we. Dude, I first saw you on RV Gear and Far probably 2 years ago. I remember it was the one where you had you were clamping the ammo box to the
The
back of
bumper.
the RV on the yeah, and I was like, oh, dude, that's like such a great idea. And then I took a dive. I was like, oh, this dude's really smart. So, how'd you get started in this business, man?
Well, thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. How to get started in this business? I think a little backstory. My wife did 20 years active duty Air Force, and we knew when she retired that we were going to go on a road trip and kind of see the country. We didn't know where we wanted to go after Uncle Sam stopped telling us where to go. And so an RV road trip was a natural, let's go see some stuff and also like look for a home base. And we had got stationed in Louisiana, and I grew up camping and stuff in northern Illinois, Wisconsin, Canada, and did a lot of canoeing and backpacking and stuff. But you don't really necessarily need air conditioning when camping that far north. But the first time I went to a campsite in Louisiana and they had a window air conditioning piped into a tent, I was like, oh, come on. And then that first night I was like, I gotcha. I totally understand why you did that. So to get more yeses from the family to get out and explore, we got a pop up. We could have air conditioning and we could have beds off the ground. Allow us to go do some more stuff, but was also towable by our minivan at the time. So we got into a pop up, and that kind of started the addiction. That was the gateway drug of being able to have something that was RV related, but a little in between. We could store it in the garage and kind of like get our feet wet. So we had two pop ups before we got the rig we're in now, a 35-foot travel trailer that we actually full-timed in for 2.5 years before we bought a house last year, and now do part-timing, go out for a couple weeks at a time, come back, go out for a couple weeks at a time. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. I think if you had told me 10 years ago, I might have believed you, because in college I lived in an RV for 6 months as an intern. And funny story, I didn't touch a single tank that entire 6 months. Now looking back on what I know, I have no idea what was going on underneath that toilet, because these were not like, they didn't like convert the RV and leave it to stationary. It was an RV that usually got rented out that they just like acquiesced back to hold on to for 6 months for me to stay in. So it was tanked. They didn't do anything different, but I never once touched anything. So I got into RVing before I even knew I was going to get into RVing. Oh, did you mute yourself?
I did.
There
So, that wasn't your fault that time. That was mine. But I got in the habit of like when you take a drink, you hit the mute button.
Yeah.
And when we film the podcast in person, I have like a big button that you press, and like I
It's
can
either
see, but
later on,
right,
yeah.
yeah, like right now I just have this like little tiny mute button on this microphone. But how did you? So you like right now I see in the background RV Gear and Far. That's how I first discovered you. Like, how did you get into content create? Because like I want to talk. You've come pretty far in content creation. You're like everybody's uncle in content creation now. So how did you? I mean, you're having everybody over for Thanksgiving dinner, bro. So how did
It's
you?
true.
How'd you get started?
So during that time that my wife was active duty, I was a stay-at-home dad. So I was a stay-at-home dad for 9 years. About when my twin boys got to be about 6, I needed just something to do, a creative outlet for myself. And so I had all of these different ideas and different ways of thinking about things in the garage, in the backyard, different DIY projects that I just had a little different perspective than other people I had talked to. And so originally I started a blog because I wanted to remain anonymous, and I was taking photos and writing a blog. Um, Quickly found out that it's really hard to just keep continuity if you're trying to remain 100% anonymous. Like, you can't tell the stories because you have to leave out details or change anything. It's just got really difficult. And I happened to go to a workshop, a weekend long workshop for a podcast that I had listened to. And the guy that pulled in the gate, purely serendipity, behind me was a YouTuber. And throughout the weekend, he's like, well, why don't you just try YouTube? And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to be known. He's like, yeah, but like you can display and explain things in a way that you can't in writing. And so a couple weeks later, I just pulled out the phone and turned it on, and the first video, it's no longer up because I redid it. It was rough. It was real rough. And this was in 2017, 2018. And so I originally built a content creation brand called Gander Flight, and it was everything: RV gear, DIY projects, anything that I was doing, and I still have it. But about 2 years ago, I ended up pivoting and restarting RV Gear and Far to be specifically RV stuff, because it was a much clearer lens for me to be able to determine, is this business or is this hobby and fun? And so now I've got two. If it's hobby and fun, it goes over on Gander Flight, and if it's RV, it clearly goes to RV Gear and Far. And let me tell you, building a YouTube channel up to about 35,000 subscribers on Gander Flight and then restarting from zero is one of the most humbling things I've ever done, because it takes a lot of work to get past that first 1,000 and then to get over 30 and then to just start again from zero. So that's been super humbling, but I've enjoyed it. And I think it was one of the best decisions that I've made long term for my business. But short term, it was a real difficult choice. And so going through all my personal content creation journey, I wanted to ask people that were in the sphere around me their thoughts, their opinions. And I was like, well, I can reach out to some of these other channels and I can ask their opinion, and they may or may not be able to get back to me. And if they do, I'm the only one who benefits from it. So I was like, well, there's got to be a space where people can go and talk about this, the stuff that is behind the content creation, behind the things that get posted to TikTok and YouTube. And there wasn't one for RV specific. So I created one. I just made a Facebook group and started DMing people on Instagram saying, hey, you're a content creator, I'm a content creator, we both talk about RVs, come into this Facebook group and we'll see what happens. And that was close to 6 years ago at this point. And then it started evolving as groups do. Of when it gets big enough, people congregate in similar areas throughout the year. So the Florida RV Super Show, the Hershey Show, people are like, well, we should get together. And then as the facilitator of the group, it was like, hey, Joshua, where are we getting together? So I kind of walked into that position, and now we've got pretty big events at both the Hershey and the Tampa show where content creators come in with brands and media departments to have just the networking thing that does not exist between the content creator space and the industry partners anywhere else.
I didn't become aware of like what y'all were doing until like right before the Florida show last year. And I have been hesitant because like our content creation is laser focused on like local business. Like I have a service area, right? And so I, until now, have been very hesitant to do anything that isn't super like directly related to that, right? Where like I think Nick, the RV tech, right? Like he lives like 2 miles away from here. And so like the first thing that I did when I was going to be in the same area was like text him like, hey dude, like, we're supposed to do a podcast eventually too. But I was like hesitant, but then like I was kind of watching it from the sidelines. I'm like, that looks pretty cool. I was like, I would love to be a part of that, because something that you're sort of like lonely when you're like a content creator, because you don't have like, there's no water cooler, right? Like you're not hanging out at work. There's no happy hour, right? Like, and so then like I made a podcast so I can talk to other people. Right. Like there's no other space like that. And it's also good to like get sometimes your best friends are the ones who tell you that you screwed up. And like, I've had a couple times, because I'm not perfect, I don't bat 1,000. I've had a couple times where somebody will text me and be like, hey man, you said this, but you meant that. And you're confusing the public. And then you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that. Like, now I have to avoid that word forever. But it's like just having like, and then I watch like even the comments now, you'll see somebody will ask a question, and then like, I'm still a little fish, right? Like, we have our 70,000 followers or whatever. But then like Josh, the RV nerd, will pop into the comments. You're like, holy shit, it's Josh. And you're excited. And like, I think that's what's cool about it too, is that there's not like, like we throw out numbers right now, but it's like, nobody cares like in that space, right? Like everybody just, we're all RV nerds, right? And like, we're all just hanging out and talking about stuff that's interesting to us. And it's cool. And I also like, I think there's something about the RV space where people really want to make content, and they just they really want to share their stories. And it's like you
Hmm.
and I kind of have a niche. There's a couple, there's other people that have a niche, but like a lot of RV content creators are just like, hey, we retired, and we're going to travel, and we just want to share that story. We're not interested in having 100,000 people, but we would like to look a little bit more professional. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a cool thing that it's not really, there's no competition in this space. Like, it's not competitive. Not really. I'm a competitive person by my nature, but like realistically, like if some other like new content creator called me and was like, hey, can you help me? I'd be like, oh yeah, sure. Like,
Yeah.
what can I do? And you've created a place where people can do that. So I'm excited. I'm hopeful that we're going to make it to Florida this year. I don't think we're going to make it to Pennsylvania because we've got some other stuff planned that I'd rather not do. If we're being totally transparent, I'd rather be in Pennsylvania.
Reschedule it.
But yeah, I know, right? But I'd really like to try and make it to, especially by the time this comes out, our class will be live, and it's my hope that we can have that class and maybe others that we can like actually go to the show and put in front of people
Hmm.
to try and do a little better. But
So
yeah,
let
man,
me
it's
ask
cool.
you
So
this, Mike. It
yeah,
sounds like you originally got into content creation as a way to facilitate your physical business. It now seems that you're getting to the point where content creation is kind of creating its own branch of your business. How do you see the two of those converging or diverging your attention and your time?
yeah. So that's something that's different for us than like a lot of content creators, where we have a physical business, the Illinois and Central Texas, and
Hmm.
our what puts food on the table is how many RVs I can wrench on. And so this all got started as a way for me to find more RVs to wrench. And like then kind of, so then we're at 50, 60,000 followers, and I'm like, well, hey, only 2% of them live in Austin. So, and then like here, only 1% live in, 200 miles from here. So it's like,
Hmm.
I'm putting 5 videos out a week, and we get clients probably every week that see us on social media. And then I have an inspection. I have to go to Coldwater, Michigan tomorrow, do an inspection because somebody saw us on social media, and they're like, hey, we trust you. We want you to go out there. So that's where it all got started. But to your point about diverging, it's like, well, we've built this thing and we do nothing with it. Like, we make virtually no money from our social media. So it's like, well, like other than the vanity number of how many followers we have, like what's the point then? Like, I could stop making videos tomorrow and take like, a 10% hit in how many leads I get. Like, it's not that substantial. So I was like, all right, well, people like, they tell us, we really like learning from you. You've got great points. You talk about things in a way that's really approachable. And so we've done some classes. We're making a class. And then my hope is, in full transparency, that we can stop doing repairs. Because to be totally transparent, I don't want to be a repair business. I've never wanted to be a repair business,
Hmm.
but I do it because I'm good at it. Pat myself on the back. But I've always wanted to do just inspections, but there hasn't been enough of that business, even with everything we do, for me to feel comfortable jettisoning that
Okay.
part of the business. And so my hope is that we can like, instead of being an inspection and repair business, my hope is that we can be an inspection and online education business, where those are our two, specialties. That's the thing about repairs, as somebody who like works in the real world, is you don't just go out and do a repair, right? So it's like, all right, somebody calls you, you go out there, you're like, oh dang, I have to order this special air conditioner or this part. Come back to the house, order the part, wait for it to come, schedule another follow-up visit. And then, it burgles all of your time and attention. So like, when you sit down to do this stuff, I don't have time to sit
Yep.
around and edit video. And so my hope is, if I can jettison that part, I can focus on, one, actually doing the inspections, but my intent is to grow awareness of the RV inspection service, and then make RV inspectors better for it.
Hmm.
That's the intent. So I do want to jettison one and focus on the other two. But I've never only had one job. I've never done it. I've always had two jobs for my entire working career,
Wow.
and I will never. I will like literally like I was a cop. I was also driving for Uber, right? Like, and then like if I couldn't drive for Uber, I would just pick up like overtime and outside jobs. Like I was
Did you
working.
ever
Cozy Camper
transport
was
the
a side
same
business.
person in both a cop car and an Uber?
So that's very nearly. So I what I used to like to do was I worked nights, and what I like to do is I would get started at like 5 on Uber, and I would try to work my way from my house to the department, and then I would kind of like once I got close to the department, I would turn off the app, and
Hmm.
then I would go to work,
Yeah.
and then so anyway, I dropped someone off on 6th Street in Austin, coming from South Austin to downtown Austin, and then like hours later, we got called about a disturbance. And then we got there and he was there. He was like just like a witness to it. But I'm like, hey, I was like, I dropped you off. But no, we didn't have to scoop him up. There were a few people where I had to. Uh, it became a police matter after I picked them up, but they were not. They were not people that I interfaced with in that job.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, and but but like it's but even in law enforcement, like my last 2 years, I spent training other cops. So like I'm particularly passionate about doing training stuff, which is why like writing classes and helping inspectors and helping content creators, it appeals to me because I really like I hope my sincerest hope is that like some other content creator RV inspector comes up and dusts me, right? Like does everything that I do better, gets a million followers, and if I can like have some small part in like making that future content creator better, sweet. Because everybody wins, dude. There's no losers when you do that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's no losers in what you're describing. Like having a dinner where everybody gets together, every single person involved wins.
Hmm. So is the content that
That's
you're
I think it's
educating
beautiful.
on, do you anticipate it being solely towards the inspector side of things, or is there going to be consumer education as well?
The first class that we're doing, you're doing a good job interviewing me. So
I had a little practice.
the first class we're doing is it's just RV owner education at the most basic level.
Okay.
So it's like 12 and 120 volts water systems. We're not diagnosing stuff. It's just like very basic stuff. What's the difference between fiberglass and stick and tin, right? Like somewhere where, and then we're creating a community with like online office hours and ongoing stuff where people can come to us and ask those questions. So that's first.
Hmm.
Oh, I scared Josh away. And then the, are you all right? You're gone. Uh-oh. Oh, you're back. Are you back?
I'm back. Hopefully that'll upload
Sweet.
faster.
Nice. Then the other thing that we're working on is we're working on an in-person training for RV inspectors,
Okay.
where somebody goes to Athens and then they go out for a little while. It's hard to get started as an inspector. You have to learn all these entrepreneurship lessons. Whereas being a repair technician, you can just kind of put a sign out and somebody will come knock on your door eventually,
Right.
versus like inspections, like people don't know what they are, so you've got to create that value. So we want to create that course, because I want to help people get interested. So the answer to your question is both.
Okay.
We have, my wife works for the business. We have somebody who helps with our marketing, and I want to. You're going to laugh. The original plan was we were going to do the RV inspector training first, and then we were going to do the public facing training. And then we got to Illinois and I found that it was a lot slower than Texas was. And so I had 2 or 3 days off a week that I didn't have before. And then I started writing training and I was like, oh, I can do this now. We can make this class right now. And then inspections caught up and now we're busy again. So,
Yeah.
but like it turned from like a Q4 project into a right now project. And so the entire Cozy Camper team of 2 other people is furious with me trying to keep up and get this thing ready. But
And
it's
there's
fun.
no fudge line on the self-imposed deadlines. It needs to get done. Okay.
Yes, it has to be
You
done.
can't push it.
Dude, okay, like have you ever like I'm sure I don't know if you work out a lot or anything, but like have you ever been working out or running or something and you tell yourself like an unreasonable thing like, hey, if I don't run one more mile, my whole family's gonna die, right? Like you tell your
Just
family
mind
or like,
tricks.
you know, like yeah, exactly. Like, hey, if you don't bench this two more times, everyone you know is gonna call you a wuss. Like, you know, so I guess I don't know, it's a sports thing. It's proven effective, dude. Maybe I'm just an insane person.
Time will tell. Time will tell. Seem pretty sane right now,
Well,
though.
if the class turns out all right, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
so where? Let me ask you this question. So I heard you say, "Okay, I grew up in Northern Illinois." I thought you were in Illinois. Are you from Illinois originally?
Yeah, I grew up in Crystal Lake, so northwest suburbs, up 90 towards Wisconsin.
Oh, right on. And now you're further south. I don't want to
Yeah,
dox you,
I'm
but
in
you live
Arkansas now.
now. Is that where y'all bought your house?
It is. Yep. We just happened to roll through town, and it checked a lot of boxes. It was the right timing, and we decided to stay. But again, it's also we structured our life for 2.5 years of nomadic travel. We didn't do anything other than establish the home base. So kids are still homeschooled. I work remotely. My wife's retired. So, next week we're going to go out for 2 weeks to a rally, and then we'll come back, and then we'll go out for a month, and then we'll come back, and then I'll go to the Tampa show, and then I'll go to the Hershey show. So there's a lot of things that got easier with the home base because now we've got a static address. We don't have to deal with any of the mail forwarding, any of the bank issues, all that jazz. But now we've also got 2 places to maintain as well, so it's a little more expensive for sure. But there are definitely some positives to it, and being able to keep your life flexible like that allows us to take advantage of both sides of the coin.
I think so. First, people sleep on Arkansas, but Arkansas is a delight. Um, we go there every year. We go to Mountain Home and
Okay.
we fish. We drain the lake of fish every year. It's amazing, right? And it's like, since you're from the north, we call it hot Wisconsin, right? It's got like everything that's nice about Wisconsin, but it's just hot, which
Yep.
is nice.
Yep.
So we love it. It's on a short list of places that we would consider full, because it's also halfway between Texas and home. But we're kind of like probably a year or 2 years behind y'all. We're doing the full-time thing right now. We really enjoy it, but it's like, well, we can't do it forever. Like
Right.
eventually we're gonna have to put down some kind of roots somewhere. And among some in like the RV space, it's almost like a sign of like failure or something. Like, oh,
Right.
you're not a full-timer anymore. Like, well, like nobody does anything forever. So like
Yeah.
either, like this will end eventually, no matter what you want to do.
Yep.
So it's like I'm becoming more comfortable with like a circumstance like you described, where it's like, hey, we're here, we want to leave. What we're deciding right now is like, do we want to do that in the South, or do we want to do that in this area, because we're all of our family still in the suburbs of Chicago and in
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's better? And I have to like totally swallow my pride after talking shit on Illinois for 12 years that we've been gone, and like kind of admitting that sort of we want to come back now.
I can understand both sides of that coin. Yep.
Dude, because like Midwest summer is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you just come to Illinois, Wisconsin right now, oh my God, this is the perfect time. But February is horrible.
Yep.
February is the worst thing. In like, I wouldn't wish February in Green Bay, Wisconsin on my worst enemy.
No.
I,
You definitely can
I don't know
sympathize
anybody.
with the snowbird mentality a lot more. The older I get, I definitely understand, like, yeah, I want to be up north during the summer, and I want to be able to go up for Christmas week, and then I want to leave and not shovel again for the rest of the
Right.
winter.
Like I still, because we're, it's like we want to give our son some kind of stability. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if he goes back to school, that'll be fun. And this is what they do in schools around here. But then I'm like, then I was thinking to myself, like, well, maybe I can budget and then I don't really have to work in the winter because my job's an outside job. And I was like doing all that calculus. And then I was like, yeah, well, if I'm not working, I don't really have to go outside. And I was like, I got a 6-year-old. He's going to go outside. I'm going to have to shovel. I was like, at some point, I'm going to have to go outside. You have to get groceries every now and then, put gas in the car. I was like, you can't,
You can get
even
all
if I
that
was a
delivered, man.
billionaire, then I'd be 400 pounds. I, I lost 50 pounds last year. I'm really anxious to
Nice.
not gain it back. But,
Well done.
but that, thanks, man. But that's, all that to say, and like I think you're kind of describing, and I hit on this a lot, dude. Like you described incremental steps to get to where you're at right now, right? You talked about, hey, you've got to like, I had to restart. We're kind of doing the same thing right now, where I focused on Facebook and Instagram exclusively, and we're like, well, maybe we should try TikTok and YouTube, right? And we had a video the other day, did like 300,000 views on Facebook, and it had like 75 on YouTube, and it's totally humbling, but people that want to get started in this business think you have to come out and get 1,000, 10,000 followers and get millions of views. And it's like, you don't at all. That's not important. So for you, like you've told me, you've started a couple things. I assume that your channels are monetized. You have some kind of income from it. But like, I guess my question to you is, when did this stuff start to seem like, oh, maybe I can kind of do this and it's a side hustle, or it's not? Like, what was your experience like when you were getting started at the very beginning?
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, the mindset was I just want to get some of these ideas out of my head and out into a place where they can help other people. And then it naturally started to create some income. And then after that, I was like, well, heck, if I can do the thing that I enjoy teaching and experimenting with, and it can also bring in some money, then, well, why don't we try that? I was in a unique position in that, like, we were following Coley around with the Air Force. So I didn't have a career that I was following or had to leave. So for us, it was a really clean cut and a clean jump. We didn't have a house to sell. So she was out of the Air Force and we had a rental. So didn't have a house to deal with. We had been bouncing around for the past, 11, 12 years before that. So we didn't have a home that we were leaving, like an immediate community. It was always a military community. And then I had just bounced around from job to job after we got married, just filling in gaps, random places. I didn't have an established career to leave. So all those things made it really easy to be like, well, I don't have to sacrifice anything to try this. Let's try this before we go on to finding another career. So I was very fortunate in that aspect. But I think it's a mindset, right? Like we were talking about a lot of people in the content creator space who just want to share with their grandkids and their kids and their extended family, like where we're going on our adventures. And if we can get better at storytelling in the meantime, awesome. But they're never expecting it to become a full-time income. I think the mindset shift is like, if you expect it to be a full-time income, you have to treat it like a full-time income. And there's different decisions that you would make or not make when you come at it from that perspective and look at things through that lens. So I think there's definitely a mental shift that you have to consciously decide, do I want to make this into a business, or do I want to just keep it of me sharing when and where I want to? And not to say that you can't do one and then make the decision to go back, but I think if you don't know what you're doing, that's when it kind of like takes up all the time but doesn't pay dividends. And so if you want it to pay the dividends, it probably will take up all the time, but you'll have a very clear direction as to where you're trying to go. And I don't even want to present this as like I've got it figured out, because this is like, today is a stepping stone to where I'm getting to tomorrow. I'm definitely not where I want to be as far as my goals and what I want to do with my career, but I think every step is a step in a direction. I'm just trying to direct which direction that's going.
That's a good way. I like what you said when you talked about like having to run it like a business, and that's your goal, right? Like I think for you, and I could definitely for me, I think for you, you're like, hey, I'm trying to do this. I want this to be my career, right? This is a legacy, I guess you could say. And not everybody wants that, which is totally fine too. I think the best people if you're wanting to kind of monetize this space, right? And differently than I do, because again, real world is different than, kind of talking about products and stuff online.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think the people that are most successful in that space are they find a way to be passionate and display passionately what it is that they're excited about, and then they sell stuff,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, hey, follow my story because we X, Y, and Z, right? This is why you should be interested in what we're doing. And after you make that hook, then you can say, like, that's when you can say, hey, I tried this water, like we're doing a water filter thing right now, and it's, dude, it's badass. I love it. And I wouldn't, like, I don't need the money from the water filter thing, but like if I can do that and have an income, sweet. If it's a product I really belong in. I think a mistake a lot of people make is they go straight for the affiliate sales. And I'm like, well, I don't really, like, I'll see a video from someone, they have like 200 followers, and they're like, oh, we really like this, X, Y, and Z widget. And you're like, and you look at their story, and every single story is like, oh, I like this widget, I like that one. You're like, can I learn a little bit about you? Like, what's compelling? And that was kind of what drew me to your page, was like it was value. It's like, hey, yeah, you can buy this stuff or not, but like, this is what I built to do. I watched a video of you because I'm looking for a standing desk, and I saw your video the other day where you built a standing desk, and I specifically searched RV standing desk, and it was like, you're like, oh, this is how I built it, whatever else. And sure, there are affiliate links there, but I also get the sense that like you just liked experimenting with that thing,
Yeah.
and we're excited to like build the thing and actually use the thing. And there's a big difference between that and just being like, hey, I really like this Logitech mouse, I think you should buy this Logitech mouse. Like, if you're not passionate about it, people can see right through it.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many people that come up, and I think I missed it, to be totally transparent. Like, I see people that have like 1,000 followers, which is great, good for you.
Yeah.
And then like I see sponsored reel, and then like they're getting paid, and then like that same company will reach out to us, and I'll like, they'll be like, oh, hey, you're getting, like, hey, we paid this guy that. And I'm like, where was that when I had 1,000 followers? Like,
Yeah.
now I've got this many, and I feel like I missed that boat. But
Yeah.
then I've seen so many content creators that like they have a cool story, and then they start to get paid, and then it becomes only about getting paid, and like they totally abandon their cool story. And dude, it's like a needle that you have to.
It's totally new. Yeah, and it's
It's
really hard to thread. And it really gets
it's
into the weeds because, like what you said with it, selecting the sponsored post, that doesn't necessarily always mean they got paid either, right? Depending on the platform, if somebody sent you that mug you just drank out of, under what the checkbox says, you need to select paid. This was a paid ad because they sent you something of value, even though it was a $7
right,
mug, right? And so, but that same check mark is the same thing that's on a video that someone got paid $7,000 for to have an
right,
integration for a bigger company. But yeah, I do think, and it's, you know, you are also saying you go and you see, this widget, that widget, and all of them on this person's page are not necessarily congruent. And I think that that's almost two separate sectors within the content creation space, because like you and I, we're doing content specifically on RVs. Well, there are Amazon influencers who just do content, right? Like they go through their Amazon cart and they do content on all the things that they bought, and they get affiliate commissions on that post to Amazon's website. And then they also happen to post it everywhere else as just like happenstance lead magnets, right? Like if it happens to funnel from Instagram over to Amazon, awesome. But otherwise, I made this for Amazon. And so, the fact that you saw that one proves that what they're doing is working to some degree, but they're also not expecting to get to 1 million subscribers and be the Amazon reviewer of the year, right? Because they're not specific enough. They're not going to be, a high tech camera. I'm not blanking on people's names right now, but like they're never going to be known as a content creator, but it's because they're not specific enough in the type of content they're creating around. It's just general content creation. And so I think there's two totally different avenues to go on. You can create content about a topic, or you can create content just on whatever. And there's two different paths to monetization there and income. And it all depends on what you want too, right? Like you were never expecting when you were driving for Uber for that to replace your full-time income with benefits. There was no
Right.
expectation of that, right? And so if, you're a stay-at-home mom that's got 2 hours during nap time and wants to record 3 or 4 videos on your phone and just throw them up on Amazon, um, one, getting to the point where they accept you into that program is a huge, like you had to put yourself out there enough for that to even be possible. Um, and then two, like you're just expecting to make a few $100s, a couple $1,000s extra a month. That's all it's intended to do, and it's serving its purpose.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's, you have to, I think something that's, and I'll give you numbers, right? Like I told you, we had a video that had like 300,000 views, right? And I think people that are not on the inside are like, oh, they must be living high on the hog.
Is this short form?
Meta paid me, yeah, Meta
Okay.
paid me like $200 for the entire month last month. So like, I'm not a snob. It's awesome. It paid my cell phone bill, but like, it's highly variable. And if you take your foot off the gas for even a minute, it's done.
Yep.
And like, obviously, if you're doing YouTube videos with 1 million views, that's going to be different, right? But like, I think that's something that people don't know. And like, doing a sponsored post for $500 or $1,000, that's the most common sponsored post. Like, actually, let me walk that back. Other than gift only collaborations, so and then like affiliate links. So you can totally run the gamut from like, hey, I just like want to get some free gear, all the way up to like, hey, I'm charging $10,000 for an Instagram story, right? Like, there's all manner of, and we're not the latter category,
No,
I assure you,
no.
but no, not even close. So, but like, and that's totally cool. Like, if you just want to make a couple extra bucks because you're doing this affiliate stuff, you're in a good place where you can like do the affiliate links or whatever. Sweet deal, dude. Or you don't want to deal with it at all, and you're just interested in sharing your story. I love all of it. There's just, the reason I bring it up is, we had someone reach out to us. They were kind of an allied entity, and they wanted to like kind of do what we're doing. And I'm like, all right, yeah, this is kind of what I've discovered sort of works for me. And then they switched instantly hard to affiliate posts only. And then they're like, well, why aren't we growing anymore? It's like,
People can feel it.
you sort of didn't figure out the first part.
Yep.
And then the second part wasn't ready yet. So you've got to kind of tease out, even like right now, I feel like we're doing too many affiliate posts and I'm wanting to walk it back, just because we oddly had like 5 deals come together at the same time. And I'm like, oh, I feel like every post we're doing right now is affiliate to someone. And I'm like, I don't like it. I feel gross. But
on the
like,
other
dude,
end of the spectrum, if you never ask the answer, like not everyone will think to come look for it, right? So if you don't let people know that you have affiliate links available, one, the way most affiliate programs work is it doesn't cost the end consumer any more. Oftentimes they actually get a discount.
Right. Usually less.
So it behooves everyone for people to use affiliate links, but you don't think to use them. And so you just go to the website and you buy. Well, you could have got 5, 10, 15% off, and the creator could have got their commission for a referral. But you got to, like, that's part of the job. If you want this to make money, is you got to remind people that that's part of the process. And sometimes that's hard to do because it doesn't necessarily always flow into what you're trying to do.
Something that is very unnatural for me, and I'll bet it is for you, right? Because like what you're driving at is you have to tell the people, like in the video, click this link for an exclusive discount, right? And I hate doing it. I have to literally, I'm on my laptop right now. I put a sticky note right here that says, put in the hook or a call to action, right? Put in a call to action, because I forget it all the time, because it's not natural to me to do that. But like, and it's another one of these circumstances where like everybody wins, like you described. Like, hey, you get a discount, I get a cut, the company, they get to sell a product, right? So there's no loser, other than the people that like we have a partnership right now where we're supposed to be tracking link clicks, but I think what is happening is they're just Googling the thing, because I'm like, hey, way more people are watching the video than are actually clicking the link, and so I'm wondering if they're just Googling this thing that I'm talking about instead. Like, we've done this before, and I'm like, the numbers don't match, but the results are good anyway. But all that to say that like the reason I kind of wanted to bring this up is that like the RV content creator space is a place where like we can have this conversation, and it's not like something that comes up for me is like if I try to talk to my like family or friends about this, that's a non-starter, bro.
Right.
That you can't talk if you cannot discuss this with other non-content creators.
Yep.
It's not real.
Yep.
Like if you like just think of your most wildest uncle in your life, right? Try to go talk to that guy and be like, hey, listen, so I'm trying to sell stuff on the internet and this is what I'm doing. He's gonna laugh in your face, right? Like like that's 100% of the time what's gonna happen. And that's I think that's the beauty of the content creator space that you personally have created. And I hope that you feel like, dude, I hope that you're proud of that, because it is really cool and it's something special that you're building.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm proud of it. It's also like 100% selfish, right? I'm getting as much out of it as I'm putting into it. And I guess at this point, I'm putting quite a lot into it. So it's still valuable. It's just kind of crazy that something that's like, hey, I want answers to this. Let's create a space where everyone can see those answers and have an open, a closed door, open room conversation. Um, it's just going to benefit everybody. And I'm definitely of that mindset of like a rising tide floats all boats, because we are not like there are more than enough. And even in such as small spaces, like if you look at the numbers of RVers, like it's a small demographic, right? There's a lot of money there because one, by nature, RVs are typically non-discretionary income, right? Like you don't, unless you're living in the RV for financial purposes, if you have an RV, it's because you've got enough money to have an RV. And so, it just, the fact that we can help each other out, I think may not make you as much money right now if that's your goal. But I think 5, 10, 15 years down the road, your overall quality of life is going to be significantly better. One, because of the relationships you built, but also because the opportunities those relationships provided to get like, and if you're specifically talking about money, sure, maybe helping somebody out or referring somebody else who would be a better fit for a product or whatever is going to hurt you or not gain you as much right now. But that is going to provide opportunities that you can't even imagine and doors that are going to open down the road that you never even comprehended. And so it's really interesting to hear people talk, and I think the difference in how people approach it is really unique. And I enjoy hearing like, what's your goal? What are you trying to do here? And, also remembering that when you get advice from somebody, well, what's their goal? Does it align with what you're trying to do? Because if Mike's trying to do one thing and Joshua's trying to do another thing, but I take Mike's advice, I'm going more towards where Mike's headed. And that may or may not be where I want to go. And so just being mindful of that is super important. And I think in addition to having like a space where content creators can talk like that, having conversations like this, right? This is going to be public at some point. People are going to be able to jump on and be able to listen to us talk about this that, 15, 20 years ago, you would have had to literally been in the same room on the happenstance that Mike and I had crossed paths inside at a campfire to have this conversation. So it's pretty cool that we'll be able to share this and people will be able to fly on the wall for the conversation too.
I really like that too. And particularly one of the reasons I like to do podcasts is for exactly that. So like I've told you what my intent was to like build classes and stuff, right? And to help RV inspectors be better. We talked a little bit about like RV help and it's the website where people can find inspectors, technicians, whatever. But when it first rolled out, like a lot of inspectors and technicians don't like change, and everybody's torqued out of shape about it. And so like I just asked Heath and Dennis from RV Help, like, hey, do you guys want to do some podcasts? We'll talk about it, right? And then I shared it to those people who were torqued out of shape about it. The first one I did, I got all this feedback like, hey, you weren't hard enough. So I text Heath, I'm like, hey, dude, I'm going to come down a little bit harder on you. And he's like, okay. And I asked him all the questions that people brought up in the group. Not that they don't have access to him too, but it's just like, hey, here's the whole conversation that I had with these people. You can listen to the whole thing. And, the thing about our business as content creator is the phone number is, I think it's on my hat, right? Like you can get me on the phone with minimal effort. Like if you are interested to talk about what we talked about on this podcast. And so like we can have that conversation. And I think to tie all this together, RVers are just like a naturally helpful bunch, right? Like RVers genuinely want to help each other. Like in this park, somebody knocked on my door yesterday and they said they're having a problem with their TV. So like I put on my sandals and walked over, and he just hadn't done a channel search. So I was there for 30 seconds. I did a channel search, whatever, it works now. And then he's like, "What do I owe you?" I'm like, "You don't owe me anything. I did a channel search on your TV. Just give me a 5-star Google review or something." And it makes it challenging to operate a business in that space. But like if you can, that's the nature of RVers. And so like when you talk about like content creation in this specific RV space, it's probably not this way in like sports journalism, right? It's probably, not this way in other sectors, right? I'm sure that I don't know, cosmetics influencers, I'm sure they don't get together and like, hey, this is how I got 1 million views, right? Like I'm sure it's highly competitive. But something that's cool about kind of the content creator space is that, um, is that everybody wants to be helpful and everybody wants to do well. And then like we talk about like Nick from That RV Tech, like I watch his content. He has had some choice words to say about NRVIA certified inspectors, right? Like I've listened to him say that.
Mm-hmm.
And like we do not agree on that. But he's not 100% wrong. And I'm not 100% right. So I think it's cool that like we can have a conversation, and all that he really wants and all that I really want is for everyone to do better, right? That's it. Like there's no, I would say the only exception to that I perceive is that the RV industry, and this is my siege mentality, the RV industry types are not particularly keen on the RV inspector. And I can understand their position. I don't agree with it. But so far, I have not really had all the videos I've made, all the things I've said, right? Like, I have never had anyone from the industry push back. I've had one dealership push back.
Yeah.
And just one in the whole time we've done this. And I was like, well, here's the video, man. Like, I didn't call you out. I didn't call the manufacturer out, but the video says what it says. That's the only space. And that's because obviously there's a financial interest there. Right. So I get it. But so absent that one space, it is a big community. And this is just like this little tight knit part of it, which I think is cool. And I really hope that we can like do more to bring that sort of thing out. Like the training that we're talking about doing for RV inspectors, part of it is to create content to support their business. Like I want there to be more RV inspector content creators. I want there to be more RV technician content creators. I'm trying to get my wife, and it's not for a lack of desire. She wants to do it too. She wants to do more homeschool content because she's really good at it. And she was a teacher, and she's over the last year, she's really developed a lot of like great resources and stuff. And she wants to do it. And I'm like, I'll tell you, if you put that on the internet, people are going to love it. And then someone's going to contact you and be like, hey, actually, I see what you're doing, but have you thought of this? And then iron sharpens iron. So it's really a space where there's no losers. Yeah. It's all cool. We all have the same nerddom, right?
Well, and jumping back to like, the manufacturer level and above, they're willing to, but they would be willing, the market would force them if they weren't, to fix all the things that, we as users don't like. The rub is that the users as a whole are not willing to pay for what it would take to make that fix. And so we've got to, the expectation versus the reality are not aligned. And so we can't say, it is on them for making those choices, but at the same time, they make those choices because of the choices we make, right? And we vote and we spend with our dollars. So if you want a lot of those problems eliminated that you hear horror stories about, well, you can source things that solve that problem. And ultimately, it comes down to how much do you want to spend to fix the problem or to anticipate the problem. And there's just, that's the other thing is like you buy a camper because you think it looks cool and you saw somebody on Instagram, you're going to go out for 8 nights a year, 2 long weekends. you're not going to spend $300,000 on a rig that's not going to give you problems. And then it's kind of like an airplane too. The less you use it, the more it falls apart. So they're not meant to sit. It's not a sticks and bricks, and it's not designed to be. So you have to use it, you have to maintain it, and therefore you have to pay for it. And if you, it's a triple Venn diagram. You can't have all three meeting in the middle. You got to pick and choose, and ultimately, oftentimes budgets win out.
Yeah, and that's so to your point. Like, as I'm somebody that I'm forced to interface with the industry all the time, just by nature of my job, right? 99 times out of 100, when I bring something to the dealership or the manufacturer's attention, they're like, "Oh, damn, yeah, we got to fix that. Sorry."
Yeah.
Like, and it's usually when it's actually time to fix it. Most of the time, the industry wants to do it. Sometimes there's like a bureaucratic challenge to that, where like just getting the warranty person to actually approve the claim is the drama. But like if you have a high level conversation with like a chief marketing officer or a dealership GM, they're like, we don't care, put a new tire on it,
Right.
right? Like let's just get the thing
Thanks
fixed
for
and be done
saving
with
us
it.
this headache of having that customer come back in 7 days, absolutely distraught because something happened that, we didn't know about, but you found. So now we can fix before they goes home.
Exactly. And then to your point, right? Like this is a Brinkley. I've been super happy with my Brinkley. Brinkley's cost extra because they engineer out a lot of those things that you're describing, right? So it comes with like, oh, hey, I don't like the way that my RV shakes apart every time I move it. You can put on an upgraded suspension. It's going to cost you $6,000 or
Right.
$7,000, but if you do that, like your RV is going to hold together better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you move your RV periodically, or you use it, like things fail when they're in the idle state, right? Because all kinds of water intrudes, mice get in, screws have backed out. So that's when it happens, and it's like, yeah. So on the one hand, and I say this all the time, on the one hand, the RV owner or buyer, particularly when something is brand new, has a reasonable expectation that the roof shouldn't leak, the appliances should all work, that the slides will go in and out. That's not unreasonable. Everyone agrees. On the flip side, it's unreasonable to believe that if you either are moving it a ton and you're putting 50,000 miles on it a year, or it's sitting in a field, it's unreasonable to think that things aren't going to go wrong.
Right.
And I did an inspection the other day on a 5-year-old Super C motorhome, and stress cracks were forming underneath both of the slides. And it's like, yeah, it's 5 years old, dude. Like it's been used a lot. Like there's gonna be something wrong with it. Like it's not a design flaw. It's just the people who used it a lot, and stuff happened to it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I was having a conversation with a GM from a large dealership around here about exactly that, expectation management, and it's all over the place because the manufacturers on the one hand are saying our product's got great quality, whatever else, and then the dealers on the other are, it takes 4 months to get this stuff fixed sometimes, and then people are making 4 or 5 payments on their RV and it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
it's a weird paradox where you talk about Venn diagrams. Well, both sentiments are simultaneously true
Yes.
at the exact same time. It's like, yeah, like one group has to raise their expectations and the other ones has to lower them at the same time. And like I don't know how to parse that sometimes. Where it's like I did a brand new RV the other day. It had a hydraulic leak, whatever else, and it's like, well, it's new manufacturing. Like stuff's going to go wrong. It's not a reflection on the whole thing's quality. But then, on the other side, I've had that exact leak happen before on inspection. The dealership doesn't fix it. This was the worst. I called the leak out. The dealer didn't fix it. Then, by happenstance, they brought that brand new RV to the RV park I was staying at, parked next to me, not knowing I was there.
Wow.
The second they put their jacks on, the line blew out and dumped hydraulic fluid all over the floor. Like, literally, like 2 days after I did the inspection. And I was like, hey, man, I called that out. I don't like I knew it was going to fail. Sorry, I can help you fix it. But but then the client they're
Yeah.
mad because they paid me to come do an inspection. The dealership said they fixed it and they didn't, or maybe they believe they genuinely did and the repair failed. But either way, it's not a good look, bro. And that's the other half of the conversation that like I want to have is like managing the expectations of the consumer but also demanding excellence. It's kind of from the manufacturer, but it's really from the dealership, because that last mile is where the devil's in those details, man. And it's finding a great dealership at the very end like that to make your purchase from can totally make or break your experience.
But don't
I
you think
see it.
if we change some of the processes that the final inspection would be less important if there was more consistency out the line?
Well, yeah, the what was his name? The owner of, it's that big motorhome dealership. They've got I forget the name of it. They made a video in response to some other RV inspectors that are on YouTube, and he made a lot of really good points. One place where I'll send you the video when we're done, but
Okay.
one place where they missed the mark was he compared new RVs to new cars. And he said, well, new cars seldom, I've never had an inspection on a new car, and I buy one every 4 years. I bought new cars too. And yeah, you're right, dude. Like 99% of the time you buy a new car, you're golden for like 50,000 miles, right? Like nothing's going to go wrong except oil changes. Not the case for new RVs, right? So it's like if new RVs were consistently super well put together and didn't have any of these dramas, then yeah, maybe the inspection wouldn't be so important. But it's kind of like, the thing though is that, like, and I'll use Brinkley as an example. Dude, I love my Brinkley, but at the end of the day, that's a Furrion refrigerator and that's a Furrion air conditioner that they don't build. So
Yep.
they have no control over what Lippert puts in this Furrion refrigerator. And to be totally transparent, when I do inspections, the most common failure points are the appliances. It's
Sure.
it's always the appliances that are wrong, except for like exterior sealant, which is a genuine mistake, an air bubble popped or something. But like brand new Brinkley fifth wheel a couple of months ago, two ACs in the refrigerator were all broken, and they were all GE, and I know, right? And so they were all GE. The dealership replaced them under warranty. The customer was happy, but it's like, hey man, that's like half of all the appliances on board were broken during inspection.
Yeah.
So if you're betting, if your average is 50%, like you've got a ways to go. But this stuff is manufactured in China. Um, so it gets beat up before it gets installed, and then the
Right.
guys who actually install the thing, they may not be good at it, because you've got the labor pool that you have in Elkhart, Indiana. So, and
Well,
then
and you get when you get
dudes,
paid by the product, that's a recipe for disaster and for failure, because people are more concerned about the time than the job.
oh, absolutely. Like if I can be done with my job in 4 hours, I want to be done with my job in 4 hours, right? So,
Yeah.
like, so I get it, and that's something that I've had to, like, I love the RV life. I love living in an RV. I love everything about it. And something that's hard for it is the nature of our main business to be critical of new and used RVs, right?
Sure.
That's the nature of what we do. And I have an interest in saying, like, hey, this is what an inspector does and this is why you should get one, right? But at the same time, we had to stop saying what manufacturer we were inspecting in our review videos, because people would watch them and say all Brinkleys are bad. I'm like, no, dude, that's not what I said. I said this one was bad because the refrigerator was broken. And
That's
like, but
plug
then
and
I
play.
would go,
Like we can disconnect 120, we can disconnect propane or 12 volt, whatever the unit may be, and that's the unit, not yeah.
right. I've only had like two critical failure new RVs ever. And like in the hundreds of inspections I've done, and they were both critical failures because of like one was a seal wasn't installed properly. It sat on the lot for like 4 months. It rained, water intruded, wrecked the slide. The other was a floor tile wasn't installed properly. It got hung up on the slide and it busted the like the it got hung up on the hydraulic arm and blasted through the sidewall.
Nice.
But like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. I have video of when it happened, and and the client was watching, which was the worst part. The client I was inspecting for, he was right, and I'm just like running the slide out, talking to him, and then bam, and you see like this like square break like in the sidewall. It was a Newmar diesel puller toy hauler. Anyway, but it's like most of the time it's all like, it's all solvable stuff, right? It's all like,
Yeah.
hey, we need to put a new AC on the roof, or we need to reseal part of the roof. The water heater's leaking. Like, we want that stuff to be fixed, but it's not like, hey, don't buy an RV because Mike finds all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want you to buy an RV and enjoy the same lifestyle that I do, dude. And I want you to make content so that you can come to the content creator meetup in Florida. I don't want to create that. And I've had somebody from the industry reach out to me and be like, hey, we don't want you to be creating fear. And I'm like, well, I don't want that either. So, um,
But at the same
if you
time,
see something where,
people buy houses all the time. You never expect an inspection to come back with nothing on it. Even a brand new build, you're gonna have a punch sheet within that first
right,
year. So I think that the difference is we're, like you said, people are expecting the process to be like buying an automobile that's made on an assembly line with machines. That's not what RVs are. They are more akin
right.
to sticks and bricks, except that we don't have standardized plans for a lot of this either, right? So whatever wiring's available is where wiring goes, versus like in your house, there's code on how specific things need to work. And there's code for building RVs, but it's also not to the same level as it is for building a sticks and bricks house, or even what a manufacturer is going to require for building an automobile. So now we take both those systems and we mesh them together with very little oversight from anybody. And it's kind of just like, well, what does the final product look like?
That's all it is, right? Is like, hey, what, especially during the pandemic, it was like, what do we actually have in stock to build this thing? And it's like, hey, do we have stranded wire? Do we have, do we not, right? Do we have Dometic wire or air conditioner? Do we have Coleman? Well, we have enough to put a Coleman air conditioner in the back and a Dometic in the front. Sweet. Like, Grand Design ran out of aluminum, and so they were putting fiberglass on, of what should have been a wood framed travel trailers, right? So, like,
Yeah.
you're right that there's no regulation. You can do those things, that's fine, but you have to be aware of what the ramifications are. Like, forget who it was. Somebody posted a video the other day where their air the air valve for their gray tank went straight through the air conditioning ducting, and it was like, yeah, they do that stuff, man. Like, that's what, and I don't even know that I would have caught that on inspection, but so it's reasonable, I think, for the consumer to say, hey, I do want to make sure the product I'm buying is a good shape. It's unreasonable. For some of the stuff that I have found, it's unreasonable to send those products out into the world and
Right.
expect nobody to complain and not get any pushback.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey man, we've got to tease out. So like our solution is like, hey dude, our solution is, give me a second. So like our solution is like, hey man, like just in the same way that you brought it up, like when you buy a house, you have an inspector. When you buy an RV, if you want one, get an inspector. Like we are trying right now, and this is the conversation. I think you went to NRVTA last year. We're having the conversation with like the inspectors, like, hey dude, it's not a drama. It's not a drama. You're just showing up to do a job. You're writing down things that are objectively true, and then you leave. Like that's it. We're not getting into peeing matches with the dealership. That doesn't help. That doesn't help anybody. And like if the dealers are going to be a bunch of jerks about it, sweet dude, just write in your report that they were being jerks. Like move on with your life. And honestly, like as somebody who's doing this, since we've made that shift in our thinking, it's been about a year and a half. It's been about a year and a half. We'll just do this. We'll be dramatic, right? We'll change a light like this. No, since we made that shift in our thinking, we our success has increased enormously. Like we deleted the adversarial part of what it is that we were doing, and that made it better. And like we ask our client, because by code you're not supposed to tell the seller what you find wrong, but we ask the buyer, like, hey dude, can we tell the client what we find wrong? 99% of the time they say yes, and then we just give them a heads up, and then they start fixing it sometimes while I'm still there. So
because if you think about it, if you think on the long run, you're not trying to sell a camper to a customer. You're trying to build a relationship with this customer so that they buy all their campers from you and they tell all their friends to come to you to buy your campers. So yes, it takes you another day or two to get this unit ready, or another week to order a replacement air conditioning. But once they leave, if they don't have to come back, that's win-win for you as a seller, whether it's individual or dealership. Like, so you're actually, your customer is hiring someone to help you do your job better. Come, unless you have something to hide, come and help me, right? I don't, yeah.
Right. That's the best dealerships. The best dealerships, the ones that like my clients are most consistently happy at, are the ones that have that mentality, where they're like, "Hey, dude, like, let us know what you find. We'll either fix it or negotiate, or we won't." Right?
Right.
Because if you're doing a used one, there is a legitimately a price consideration, right? Because on a used one, they're not going to fix everything.
Right.
But but then maybe they genuinely didn't know that this thing had a routed out slide, right? And it's like, oh, it's got a routed out slide. Let's send that one off to auction, right? Like, once again, there's a way for everyone to be win-win, but like at the individual seller's level, they may not see it that way,
Yeah.
right? But from a if you zoom out, you might question. The thought occurred to me before we wrap it up. You went to NRVTA last year or the year before, is that right?
I went this year.
Okay, yeah, you went recently, right? Did you
Yeah.
go for fundamentals or what did you do?
I did fundamentals and then I went through tech, and then I'll be going back for inspector in the fall. And I'm actually hoping to get up to Indiana and go through RVTI's in-person training as well, hopefully in July and then later in the fall too, to try and kind of get the same amount of training on both of the major offerings in the space.
I want to do the RVTI as well. I'd love to see what there's only so many ways to fix an air conditioner, right? So like I'd love to see what they teach, like it, because people tell me it's different.
Mm-hmm.
They tell me what you learn there is different, and so I'd like to see what it is that they offer. Now, is your intention to? Are you wanting to do like technician inspector stuff, or are you just kind of going for your own benefit?
As a secondary thing potentially. I like the idea of inspector training and doing inspections because it's a known amount of time. Because the biggest thing is me as a content creator, primarily, one, I want to understand the entire system. So getting the training just only helps me make better videos. But two, as you pointed out, when you're doing technician work, you don't know how long a job's going to take you because you get there and then all of a sudden 7 other things are wrong, and then you've got to wait for back ordered parts and X, Y, and Z. And so like that would not play well into my schedule of being a content creator first and just trying to work that. But inspections, presumably, are schedule inspection day, schedule, paperwork time, and then the job is done. So something like that could be an additional income stream and income revenue. Again, it just all boils down to time. Like how much time do I want to spend in a day? Which avenues fill my cup the most, and which ones are financially beneficial, relationship beneficial. But yeah, and I'm very interested to see the two different approaches to the curriculum as well, because I think my hypothesis is that by the end of level 2 training at RVTI, you're presumably going to be about the same level of information between the two schools, but the way that they get there is going to be not identical. That's my theory.
Right.
So I'll let you know towards the end of the year if I can confirm or deny that. But that's from the research that I've done. That's kind of where I think it ends up being at. Is like you're kind of to the same level, but then again, the difference is that like RVTI's got a direct pipeline to the manufacturers, right? Like they're subsidized by the RV industry, and so there's a huge difference in the cost because the one is there's no way that you could get that training for what you pay as a technician and actually get instructed in anything like that. It just doesn't, the math doesn't math.
No,
but that just means that there's two different ways to go about it. And I think I've been talking with quite a few different people. It'd be really nice if we had some sort of like third party certifying body, right? That it doesn't matter where you go to school for many other careers. You take a nationwide test, right? Well, that'd be awesome if we had that for technicians and inspectors. So like, it doesn't matter. Like you could watch YouTube videos and watch Mike's course and do all this and piecemeal your own. You go in and you take the test and you pass. Well, then you're certified for passing the test. It doesn't matter where you went. I think it's going to take a pretty big strong arm to eventually get to that point. Maybe under federal enforcement. I don't know. I'm not for more government, but at the same time, I don't know I keep coming to a dead end of how we could get market adoption of something like that without some sort of outside enforcement.
I think you're going to see that first at the state level. And I was having a conversation with somebody about that today. So like Texas and Florida, and I don't know if there's any other states, but Texas and Florida have like pretty strict rules about propane and RV technicians inspectors.
Yes.
And I see this question get asked all the time, like, oh well, if I'm only going to do a pressure drop test, do I need to be certified? Yes, the state is very clear.
System?
Yeah, like did you touch it? If you touched it,
yep.
then the answer is yes. To do anything other than cook, if you like, and make hot water, like if you do anything to test that system, you have to be certified. And it's easy in Texas. It was a 1-day class and like $400 in licensure fees. Like it's not hard to do. And so I think that's where you're going to see it first, because Canada does it, right? Like Canada has some kind of thing where you test it. There's a bunch of vocational programs where you can go through. Somebody actually asked me to do an inspection today in Canada, and I was like, oh, I can't because I'm not authorized to work there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as a citizen,
insurance.
And I'm right, exactly. So there's a bunch of reasons I can't go to Canada, but also because their technicians have some kind of a nationwide like certifying thing. And so I think when you see, I think like Florida will probably be first just based on how many RV technicians are down there, where some state entity will say, hey, if you want to be a Florida certified RV technician, you've got to come in and take this test. Like you can go take the Canadian test. I took it once just to see if I'd pass. You can go take the Canadian test online. It doesn't mean anything if you take it. But I just it was like a practice test. I just wanted to see if I would pass it. And I think that like Florida and Texas, maybe Arizona, are probably states where they will do something like that to try and, because like, hey, dude, like, you know, the term RV inspector is not regulated.
No.
Anyone can be an RV inspector. Anyone can be an RV technician.
Mm-hmm.
It's better if they have some training. But, dude, I also know some, like, badass RV techs who have never been inside a classroom.
Yep.
And they know everything about RVs. And so it's like, well, there should be a pathway. I can believe two things simultaneously. On the one hand, RV inspectors should be tightly regulated and controlled. But on the other hand, like, there also needs to be an avenue for these guys that maybe they learned everything at a dealership, or maybe their dad taught them everything, and they're just amazing. There shouldn't be gate kept.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to, we're kind of out of time. I don't want to keep you, but I'd love to, when you're all the way done, I'd love to talk to you about like your whole RV, NRVTA and RVTI experience, contrasting the two. I was going to do the online one just because in the interest of time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is
like.
I'm in a unique position into where I can take the time to do the training for both, because that's a lot of time to be able to go in person to all that stuff. Like that's close to 2.5, almost 3 months of time to be in the classroom. Well, many people can't afford to do that. And so I'm in a unique position that where I can leverage that to the other side, to the content creation side. So it's kind of I'm interested in doing it for myself, but I'm also interested in doing it just to help everybody else out, because many people can't take that opportunity to figure out which one they'd rather do.
Yeah, no, that's a good perspective to have about it. And like the whole conversation that we're having, like your intention has remained pure. Like I thought you were going to say like, oh yeah, I'm going to do like full-time RV inspector. Like, that's not what you said. You said, I want to supplement my income and I want to focus on RV content creation. So like, I can tell that your intention has remained pure throughout your whole journey, right? Like your intention has basically been the same the whole time. And like, it seems like you've done a good job not falling into the money pit where you're like, hey, I'm just going to chase that, I'm just going to chase that affiliate partnership. I want to get that Camco sponsorship and sell sewer hoses, right? Everybody needs a sewer hose. I'm not slamming it, but
Camco makes a good hose, but I really would like to see somebody come out with some different color options. Like if we could accessorize our rigs with more than just brown and orange, I'd be game for that.
As a man that owns a Brinkley, I never was when I had like my old trailers, but now that I have this like very fancy, I like my lens caps on, right? I like my underbelly lights, and I don't like there to be anything under my RV where people will see it because of my underbelly lights.
Yep.
And so that was that's a new thing for me. But hey, man, let's wrap it up. Where should people? And we know about RV Gear and Far. Is that the best place to find out more about you?
It is rvgearandfar.com or rvgearandfar on all of the social medias. You'll be able to find me there. And yeah, I enjoy giving people some RV tips, gear reviews, how to's, and just ultimately sharing the things that I learned and that I'm doing with, a larger audience that is giving me the opportunity to continue to share that stuff. So um, I really enjoy diving into the details of stuff. And I think my biggest hurdle in sharing things is that I'm getting to the point now where I need to start expanding beyond the things that apply directly to me and my rig because people are asking for it and they want my opinion. I'm like, but I don't need that piece of gear. Well, we want your opinion. So now I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to get into a few more things that I don't have necessarily an everyday need for. So yeah, rvgearandfar.com.
Right on, man. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me. We'll talk to you next time, man.